Hey, it's Chris, I Homestead Hardway. And today we're going to do a hog pen walkthrough. We're going to try to show you the whole little hog operation. And we're going to try to cover some questions we've been asked while we're doing it. Try to, cover 3 or 4 birds in one stone. My wife's going to be walking around following me, so it may be shaking a little bit. We're not professional. We don't have a neck brace thing holding it all. We just had to bear with us. Start off with your loading chute. You need a ramp. They do a whole lot better loading with a ramp. Have a gate where you shut behind them if you get one's a little stubborn. We have a walkway. You'll see it as we go. We have a walkway around everything. This is the Boar pen. We've told you before it's better to take the Boar to the south than the south to the Boar. It's a 16 by 32 pen. Shelter's 4 by 12, 4 by 16. It's got a concrete floor. I like this shelter design better than most.
Open at both ends.
Yeah, that's important. Open at both ends. Works a whole lot better than one door. This is a pivot holding pen. It's an 8 by 16, 4 by 8 shelter. We add sand as needed. The dark stuff you see is lime. And we just came through that hurricane. So this pen was really nasty, really wet. So at some point this week we'll go in and till all that together. There's an opportunity to show you how the water troughs and such are attached to the fence with the shackles. Like I said, we know the phone's shaking, but ain't nothing we can do about it. There'll be a motorcycle go by or an airplane or a dog start barking in a minute too. We have the walkways. If you've been watching this, you know all about them. We got a lot of questions about the gates, how the gates are done. It should show you the springs on the gates where they shut themselves. And that's just so you can't forget to close one.
And the open end.
Yeah, the gates always need to open in. If you'll see on this one, there's always a backer where you can't push it open. Some of them have store-bought hinges, some of them have homemade hinges. It just depends on what was going on that day when I built them. This is the Farrowing house. She can show you the blocked off section for the pigs to get under, and she can show you the pig boards.
See, there's a section there that has a panel on top so the sow can't try to get back there. There's a heat lamp in the corner and the cord goes up so they won't chew on it. There's pig boards all the way around on all sides. Even in front of this panel, it's open for more air with a panel in the front. And it's soft dirt because if she lays on a pig on concrete it'll crush her. But if you lay on soft dirt, it might survive.
Well, you can do it either way you want to do it. There's advantages and disadvantages to concrete or dirt. You can make a case either way. Farrowing pens are 16 by 24. They could be bigger if you want them to be bigger. By 32 would be fine.
There's gates for sections for when we're moving pigs. So that...
Well, that way one gets by you, they don't run all the way to the other end. You have to walk and get them back.
Okay, I'm going to pause and we'll take it up at the next pen.
This shelter's built just a little different. I like this way better. A lot of our stuff was built as economically as we could build it. And sometimes it was built to match the available materials, not necessarily exactly how I would like to have built it.
You can see the pig board's better in this one. They're pushed out a little bit further. And that goes straight up instead of at a lean. There's still a heat lamp in the corner. Open with a grate for more air. And babies.
They're 5 weeks old today. 6 weeks old today, I'm sorry. And as you see, we build a gate out of everything. We get a lot of questions about gates.
There's a gate.
And that's galvanized. Of course, it's got a very terrible looking weld on it, but it's held up for 4 or 5 years. But that's old trampoline frame. And then you pause it again and we'll take them down and show them the sow. Alright, these are the sow pens. That shelter is 8 by 12, I think. And these will house 3 sows each. This one's a 20 by 65, I think. Those posts are 10 foot apart. Count them. But we need to breed sows too at the time to get our breeding schedule back right. So we've got to bore in with 2 sows down here. Normally we just take 1 sow at a time down to his pen. And the question we got the other day, which breed of pig did I like the best? And you know, I'm a do-rock guy. I love do-rock. But we've about figured out that the best pig in the topping pen is a 5/8 do-rock 3/8 ham. Now we've got a few spots, and we've got some spots mixed in some of our. That's a do-rock Hampshire cross. That's what they call an American spot, same thing as a spotted pole in China, and that's a do-rock spot cross.
I don't know if you can see them really good. The sun's shining.
This right here, that is a do-rock Hampshire cross sow. She's 5/8 do-rock 3/8 ham, and she's bred to a black hamp boar, black and white boar. Remember, black's dominant, so you're gonna get a lot of black pigs in your first crosses. This red boar, she'll foal mostly red pigs.
You can probably see them better there. Not so close to them.
Now we're gonna cut it off again and go to the other end down here and show you the other setup. And I'm gonna try to remember what other questions we were supposed to answer. All right. Another piglet holding pen. That's a 6 by 12 shelter. I hate to admit, I don't remember how big the pen is. 12 by 12 maybe. Different way you build it. This is built for smaller pigs. I like the way it looks better, but you need to post on the outside of the panels, not the inside. A big hog can push those staples out. Those are 2 little hamp do-rock crosses. What they call a red hamp. The boar's actually going to Moore's Farmhouse, the YouTube channel. And the little gilt is one we saved for ourselves. They're brother and sister. Another sow pen. This one's 30 by 50. With like a 6 by 12 shelter. Like I said, a lot of times we build stuff, you know, it may be that's the size material we had. If you'll see the tin tarp on the bottom, that's something I need to tell you. Always stop your tin halfway at the bottom board. Make sure you use a treated board at the bottom and stop your tin halfway or they'll rip it up like they did there. We're going to come back in here with a grinder with a cutoff wheel and cut the tin off and just put a treated 2x6 across the bottom to fix that. Paint the shelters. All that's on the to-do list. We've been getting them at the time, you know, pouring the concrete in there for the feeders and waters and trying to improve. Instead of pouring concrete in this one, we put a stall mat, a horse stall mat, cut it out for the post, and you'll see what they do at the end out. We've got to go back and add a board there. It's another sow pen. Like I said, 3 sows for the pen. Works the best. These are pulled down pretty good. They just wean pigs. And the better a sow milks, the more she'll get pulled down. This little gold sow was really putting out some milk. She almost looks like a Holstein cow. She'll bounce right back, but we're going to skip a breeding cycle on her to give her a chance to recover. Here's 2 boars, our next 2 breeding boars. And if you'll see the trend, we're going with a red listed flop-eared pigs is what we're going to try to, is the cross we're looking for. This is a nice little boar here. It's pretty close to what we've always raised, body type. And we've got one we got up here from Johnny and Melissa Sharp. It is an old timey build. He is, when they say heritage breed or old line, he has got an old line build to him, sure enough. He's even got the old looking head like they used to have on him back in the 30s.
This one has concrete in the little.
And that's the one with dry poured concrete on it. So far, that's worked pretty good. The couple of shelters we dry poured concrete. And we'll touch on that right quick. I know we've already talked about it in another video. But
sorry, I almost fell.
She fell in a hole while I jumped that time. Trying to have a seat. But they'll track enough dirt under that shelter that if your concrete's not perfectly flat and smooth, we obsessed over when we poured it, trying to get it perfectly smooth. And that's almost impossible doing dry pour, I think. Somebody knows better about how to do it than me might could do a better job, but it was a little too rough. But they're gonna put enough dirt in it, it's not gonna be an issue. They're gonna make the dirt that deep, just for what to get on them in the mud hole and go back in there. And then we started using sand for bedding in the summer anyway. So I think it's going. So far, I like it, and I think it's gonna be fine. Another thing, we've asked some questions about how you catch these pigs.
Hold on, gotta get by the hole.
This is a catch panel, and it's just half a hog panel with a piece of 1-inch tubing running around it, welded down.
Step back so we can see the whole thing, how big it is.
Well, you can make them as big or as small as you want them. And of course, all the cutting boards are on the back of the truck, but you know, everybody should know what a cutting board is. Plywood, 3x4 sheet of plywood with handles cut in it. But this right here works good in this pen because you hook it behind that post. You run it down here beside the shelter. You run the pigs behind the shelter in here and just close it up on them. That works great for little pigs, not so much big ones.
That's a half a cutting board down there at the end for small spaces.
That was something else we talked about. Your loading chute, your walkways in between your pens, where you know you're just moving a sow over here to put her in with a boar or anything. So we have 2 boar pens. We have one here, we have one down there. And of course normally we have 2 mature boars. We usually have 2 boars at the same time. But you make the boar shelter big enough for 2, which that 4x8 is big enough for 2. And you just take the sow to the boar. There's 2 feed pans in there. And you just walk her back. All this can be 4 foot. But where they go on the trailer, where you're loading them out on the trailer, 2 foot is probably better. Because you go to loading out tops, finished hogs, and they turn around on you. But you go to load one of these big sows, they can turn around in this 4 foot walkway. Which is a good thing if you have one slip by you, you got to turn her around and care about where she came from. But when you're trying to load them on the trailer, being able to turn around is a problem. So build the part that goes out to the ramp a little narrower. And our cutting boards are cut 4 foot wide to accommodate these walkways. But then what you do when you get her up to, or get a pig up to the ramp right here, you switch over to the narrow board. That's why it's hanging right there. And
we have a ramp in this walkway as well, where we load.
And there's a good place to show you what the homemade hinges look like. Now you can make that longer and put 2 bag bolts. In fact, some of them are done that way. And then, you know, you always got to have something for it to shut against. And that galvanized wouldn't weld very good. They're not very good looking welds, but we build a lot of them out of galvanized, like, what would it be, chain link fence post?
Mm-hmm.
All these are made out of old trampoline frames somebody brought up here. We'll talk about the cow pounds. Got a lot of questions about the difference between cow pounds and hog pounds. Those are old cow pounds, ancient. My daddy bought them in the 60s. And they're made out of better steel than the newer ones. But for some reason, a cow panel is just not as tough as a hog panel. They'll tear the bottoms up on. Here's a good example right here. These aren't hog panels, they're cut down cow panels.
This is the cow.
The ones with the big holes. And what that come from is when we had the hog pens at the other end of the farm, they destroyed the cow pen to the point that I had to cut the bottom off. And since there's not going to be any little pigs in here, this is just a holding pen. They go to a farrowing house to have the pigs. We just cut them off and we used them in the load and shoot and on this side of the pen. If you build your pen out of hog wire, you still need a little place, as panels, to attach the
hog wire.
Well, they call that field fencing too, but you still need somewhere that's got panels, because the water and the feed attached to the fence is a game changer. When you don't have to go out there in the middle of a muddy hog pen and chase down water troughs and chase down feed troughs, they're not buried in the mud, and they tip up. We've got a little hook around here somewhere. You grab them and tip them up to wash them out, and it's just so much more convenient. And I've had people ask me about stobbing a fence. That's what stobbing a fence looks like when you get a particular place they're trying to tear it out. You'll see the short post. So if you get somewhere they're really tearing the bottom up, you can go in there and just put a short post in between your long post. Saves a little bit on material. If you want to cut it off, we'll walk around here and show them. This is another sow pen. It's 30 to 50. Like I said, 3 sows to the pen.
These are young.
Over here, we don't have access to the loading chute. And I was going to put another fence up and tie it in where you could walk them down and use the same chute over here. But what I ended up doing was building that mobile loading chute. And there's a video on it if you want to see it. We've added wheels to it since the last time we talked about it. But what you do is you run the pigs up in a little catch pen. Put a panel across there, something cut board panel, something temporary. And then you open the big gate here and go in and push the loading chute up to it like a wheelbarrow, and you back a trailer and you load them up. It's a little less convenient, but it works fine. Most of our sows have been trailered back and forth to the farrowing houses enough that loading them is not an issue. And we don't usually have much of an issue loading pigs. Every once in a while you'll get one that wants to be a little stubborn, but for the most part, loading pigs here is not a big deal. These big gates right here just stock gates somebody gave me, and we welded a scrap piece of panel to them. If you'll see the concrete out here in the middle of the pens, you know, we've talked to you before about pouring the concrete slabs for feed and water, but that slab was over here, and there's another one over there that was over here. And those big sows can move them. They can slide them. They can't pick them up and tote them, but they can slide them. So what we started doing when we pour our slabs, we pour them 24 by 3, 6 inches deep, and then we take the hole diggers and dig 3 dipples down in the ground about 6 or 8 inches. And that seems to work pretty good. That's the way that slab is done, and the other ones you've seen it poured. Somebody asked about shelter height. The lower the better. Most of these are 4 foot high at the front, 3.5 foot at the back. That one there is probably 5.5 at the front and 4 in the back for some reason. Not sure why it's got more pitch than the other ones. A lot of this was built when I was sick, and I had friends and neighbors and a couple of YouTube viewers come over here and help us build it, and it's not exactly like I would have done it. But they were nice enough to come help me. I'm not fussing, but there's some posts that are a little crooked, and if you look down the top, you'll see the posts aren't even. But this is what we use for a topping pen. It's set up the same way. You have to back in the loading chute. And gate's done the same way. It's a 30 by 50 as well. And if you'll notice, the hot wire's a foot off the ground.
If you can see it. There it is.
Now all of these are replacement gilts. Back to our 5/8 Durock, 3/8 ham. That's kind of exactly what we're looking for right there, color wise and build. Those are two mostly Durock gilts, came from Johnny and Melissa. And for nostalgia's sake, we always keep some spots. So my daddy raised Durocks and spots. So just for nostalgia, there's always been something here we keep. And this is confusing. I don't let me confuse you. What used to be a spotted pole in China, now they call them an American spot or a spotted hog. Not a Gloucester. We say spots. We're not talking about Gloucesters. We're talking about the old SPC, no matter what they call them now, but that's what they are. And that's a really nice gilt here. The only pig on the farm with a name, that's Uno. And she's special. Uno kind of checks all the boxes.
She's a big girl.
She's got growth rate nailed down. She's only a month older than the other two. But anyway, maybe that'll help you a little bit. And I'm sure we forgot something. I always do. But if you have any questions, try to email me. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. The last couple of videos we've put up, I can't answer comments. When I answer them, they never show up. I'll go through, and maybe I'm trying to answer too many at one time. I usually try to let everybody comment, you know, the first couple of days, and I go through and answer everything, especially the questions. And but it won't let me. They say I've added a reply, then when I check back a couple hours later, they're gone. We've had some people ask a question or two, and I've answered that comment 6 or 7 times, and it just disappears. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to fix it. You know, like we told you before, we're not professional YouTubers. We're not tech people. I didn't know what the internet was until about 7 years ago. And I don't know what I'm doing. But if I left something out, just let me know. And maybe we'll end with this. This is set up to be a 9-sow operation. Now, to be 9 sows, I really need one more farrowing house. Would be better. It would be a lot easier to get everything bred to have at the right time if I had one more farrowing house. Where I could have 3 sows, have 3 sows, have 3 sows. That would be very simple. We don't really want to do it that way because we want to litter pigs every month. And we also want the farrowing houses to sit empty and have time to dry out and lime them and till them in and clean them up a little bit, do any maintenance before we got to rush another sow in there. Well, 6 sows is a litter of pigs every month. So, I think we've got the market to go ahead and increase, you know. And like I said, we had a couple people kind of raising pigs with us, and one of them is quit. So I think we can pick up the slack. So we may be doing another video in 6 months where we've got this much built again. We've got enough room to add about half of this. And maybe that'll help you a little bit. Just remember, you can do all this stuff. Just set realistic goals and try to have a plan. You know, start small, start as cheap as you can, start with some good pigs, and you can do it. Just there's a lot of misinformation out there. It'll get you in a lot of trouble. And there's a lot of good information too. But knowing how to weed it out when you're just starting out is probably different. But you can do it. You can't do it sitting on the couch. So remember, you'll never plow a field by turning it over in your mind. And I appreciate you watching. And we're going to try to start doing a few more videos. My health's getting bad. Kind of going downhill fast in a way. And there's some things I'd love to cover while I can. Anyway, y'all have a good week.